All right, guys, I think I'm live. So, welcome back to another episode of My View on Books. It's been a long time, not right? Since I reviewed a book, it's been a long time. So, you're watching Medley with MaddiE, YouTube TV. You can watch it for free. You don't have to subscribe. And I'm Maddie Dawson, the bibliophile version. So, let's review this book, The Heart of Buddha's Teaching. I have it here. It's a beautiful book. It's one of those books that changed my lives, and I thought I'll do a review on this. It's spiritual and religious book, but I still it can be used to improve your life, and that's the reason I picked up this book to review. I think I've read it a couple of years back, but still the topics and the learnings are still in my mind, and I do not forget. I keep revisiting certain things in this book again and again to make sure that my life doesn't you know fall apart. So this is a great book. We'll do a review. Before that, we will just I just want to remind you about this. Is the sound okay? I hope the sound is okay. Yeah, sound is okay. So I just wanted to remind you, I have already uploaded this on YouTube and it's scheduled to premiere. But then let's just remind. So we are introducing a new comedy series, Black and Brown, and the first episode, Death List, is premiering this Wednesday, 5:25 p.m. It's almost like Mr. Black, but you have another character. But this Black is different from Mr. Black. So this is a standalone comedy series where we have Black and Brown, two characters, and it's like a Laurel and Hardy comedy duo, buddy comedy series. So one episode we shot, and I thought this would be the right movie to kickstart Black and Brown. So in the future, we're going to continue the series with a lot more episodes based on the response. And I'm really confident that this particular series will be well received, similar to Mr. Black. Yep, that's the thing I wanted to remind you guys. Let's jump back to our book. So today we're going to review The Heart of Buddha's Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's very difficult to pronounce this author, but he's really famous. He is another book is The Miracle of Mindfulness. I haven't read that, but I think it's a popular book. I'm planning to read that. Yep. So yeah, it's available on Amazon, and if you see, it's available in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle edition. I have the paperback version, so it's about 300 pages, and publisher is Rook. So yeah, it's a pretty long book, but not very long. 300 is manageable, still manageable. And if you look at Goodreads, it has around 4.29 rating, which is really good. Out of 5, right? 4.29 is really good. And yes, I picked up the preview of the book from Amazon here, so you have the contents here. So basically, this book is introduction to Buddhism, and the author is a monk, right? So he's a Buddhist monk, and he has made sure that he has explained the teachings of Buddha in a very clear and concise format, and you really get to know what is Buddhism, actually what it's more. It's just a way of life, right? So it's similar to Hinduism. It's a branch, and how Buddha actually started teaching the principles and what is actually Buddhism. You can actually see it has only three parts. So in the first part, the core principle of Buddhism is taught, the Four Noble Truths. So everywhere you hear Buddhism, you would come across these terms, Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path, the Noble Eightfold Path. So these are really the core principles of Buddhism, and if you just go through them in detail, you'll realize, like, we have these questions in everyday life, right? Why is it happening only to me? And we just question, and we don't find the answers. But what's beyond? How do you proceed from there? So why is it always happening to me? Okay, it's always happening to me, but then let's see what happens to me, and is it is supposed to be happening? So what next? So it's kind of troubleshooting your life. I think if you read about Hinduism, you can actually troubleshoot your life and figure out what's really going wrong. Right? So yeah, I don't want to talk in length. Let's just jump into some of the chapters. And if you see, I think The Four Noble Truths. Yep, this is where I wanted to. I hope you guys can see. Yep, you can see that suffering, creation of suffering, cessation of creating suffering, and the Noble Eightfold Path. So the first step in identifying what do you say, troubleshooting your life is you understand that, you accept that you have suffering, right? Everybody suffers in life. I mean, it may be, you may think that it's the magnitude of the suffering is so huge for you, and you're the only person in the world, suffer this much, or it's a lot of thing I'm going through. But it's not the case. Everybody suffers in this world. So suffering is one of the basic things that any human goes through, or any species go through in life. If you see in the forest, all the species, there is a food chain, and you just have to run for your life. And the only thing that you think about if you're an animal in the forest is survival, right? So there's a lot of things. So not only you, any species has to go through suffering. So that's the first thing. So accepting the suffering, that you see yourself, you observe yourself from third person point of view, and you think and you understand that, okay, I am suffering. And then you look at what are the things that causes you to suffer, right? Is it the jealousy? Is it because of some emotions? Is it because you have some dreams and you're disappointed in not achieving them, or not taking steps to achieve them? So what are the causes that is creating this suffering? So you need to find out those causes, right? The sources of suffering. And you have to make sure that the third step, to make sure that cessation of creating suffering is basically nothing but you try to eliminate the sources, and make sure that you live and not repeat those steps that creates those sources and creates your suffering. So that's the third step. So you have to really find out a way. Okay, you figured out that you're suffering because of so and so reasons, and what are you going to do for that reasons? Are you going to allow those reasons to live with you and make your life more miserable day by day, or you're going to take some action, make sure that those reasons are eliminated, make sure that you resolve those issues, and make sure that particular suffering is resolved. So that is the third step, cessation of creating suffering. And then you try to follow the noble eightfold path, which is basically a set of principles, and it's reasonable even in today's life. Even in 21st century, it's reasonable. And if you see, it's right view, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right diligence, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So all those terms, it basically explains for itself, but when you read the book, you're going to get a lot of ideas, and your thought process is going to be you know you're going to imbibe a lot of stuff in your thought process, and it's going to change the way you think and the way you see life. It's going to change, and definitely this noble eightfold path will try to you know change your life upside down. And when I read this book, it was a huge revelation. And if you see, these four steps is kind of everybody gets stuck in the first step, right? They suffer and they just ask the question, why am I suffering? What did I do wrong? And I don't deserve this suffering. I have done so many good things, but still I suffer. So everybody gets stuck in this first circle, and they don't go beyond this circle. And this, when you see it in a chart, and when you read these steps, the four noble truths. Okay, you have to identify why are you suffering. So what is the reason you're suffering? Is it because you are having some expectations and those are not met and you're disappointed? So is it something inside you, or the source is outside you? And how do you stop that suffering and make sure that sources or the reasons are addressed? So that's how you should proceed with your life. You shouldn't get stuck in the first step, where you're just thinking that I'm suffering, and you know I'm not going to do anything. Just keep on complaining and whining about your life. It's not, nothing is useful. It doesn't matter. So, yep, that's the whole idea. So, the four noble truths and the noble eightfold path alone are enough to change your life upside down. So, that's one of the reason I'm going to recommend you this book, and make sure you buy it in Kindle or anywhere. Just read about these principles. It's really good. You can take me as a proof. They have taught a lot, and I've improved my life a lot understanding this. And there is a lot other, and there's one quote I would like to. Hi, Headshot Gamer. Yep, we have live chat members too. So yeah, I would like to read one quote which I found impressive. Just I was glancing through the book and I thought, like, let me read this quote in the live stream, right? Yeah, so this is one quote. Words and ideas are only useful if they are put into practice. So we speak a lot of words, we get a lot of ideas, but they are not of use if you are not putting into action. So if you see a lot of, let's say my movie making career as an example. So I had a lot of ideas, Sapiens movie and 2100 movie, Bale horror movie. So those ideas would have stayed as ideas if I didn't take any action to put into practice. So those movies wouldn't have been made if I just simply sitting and thinking about ideas. So that's why this quote is so powerful. Words and ideas are only useful if they are put into practice. So it's a powerful quote. And see, this statement and this quote alone is enough to convince you to buy this book. And there is something which is interesting. I would like to read that as well. So this is another, as you can see in the context synopsis, you can actually see other basic Buddhist teachings. So the core principles are Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path and other basic Buddhist teachings. Under this, if you see the three doors of liberation, yeah, so that is one of my favorite, the three doors of liberation. And in that, what are those three? Emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness. So this is also very, very what do you say, revealing or illuminative concept here. So what is emptiness? So emptiness, if you see an empty cup, you can see, yeah, so if you're not pouring water, the cup is empty, but you don't mean if you pour the water, it's not going to be empty. So you should see it in duality, right? So if it's empty, it doesn't mean that it's empty. So it is just devoid of that particular space. And that's how you should see the whole life. You are interdependent with others, and your happiness and suffering is connected with others. So if you're happy, you're going to make others happy, and if you're sad, you're going to make others sad. That's as simple as that. So that's what emptiness is all about. You should see not only the emptiness, but what it could have been. So that is emptiness. And signlessness, so we see a lot of signs, and if you see, there is one example this author has given. So sign here means an appearance or the object of our perception, right? So water, if you put it into a square box, its shape is square, and if you put it into a circular box, its shape is circular. And basically it's but whichever box you put in that particular shape, it's gonna get. So that is signlessness here. So there is absolutely no fixed perception. So you should be open to different perception and realize that it is, it's universal. And then my most favorite, aimlessness, which is aimlessness. Yeah. So today we tend to follow a lot of influential people, celebrities. We want to be like them. We want to become like them, we want to follow them. So I don't think that is the right approach for anyone, right? So we had Sachin Tendulkar, we had Dhoni, and we have so many cricket players, but if you try to replicate others, you're not going to succeed. You may get famous, but you're not going to be persistent and successful over a long period of time. So that is what aimlessness is. You have to realize your unique individuality, and you ought to be yourself, right? You don't have to be others. A rose is a rose. It doesn't have to be another flower. So rose is already rose, and it has to be only rose. That's what he says. Your purpose is to be yourself, and you don't have to run anywhere to become someone else. So it's a very good principle I loved. And these three doors of liberation, emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness, is really again illuminative and educating. So yep, I would recommend this book, even though it's a spiritual and religious book. So don't look at it like you're reading about Buddhism. Obviously, if you're interested in Buddhism, this is the go-to book for you. And if you want to begin with Buddhism, this is the go-to book for you. But as an individual, if you want to try to troubleshoot your life, and if you are really in a thinking that your life is messed up, then this is one book that can repair your life. And yes, as I said, part 1 and 2 is alone enough convincing to buy this book. But you have other basic Buddhist teachings, which is very interesting. As I told you, the three doors of liberation, how it changed, like three simple principles: emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness. So you have a lot other like this. So I have just given you just some amount of topics from this book, but it's a great book. Do purchase it. It's available in Amazon, and it's like $440. So I think I can afford it. Or you can go for Kindle edition. It's an amazing book. It's one of those books that changed my life, and I would recommend you to read this book. It's a must if you are into spirituality, and those who want to learn about Buddhism. This is the right book that you have to pick it up. And yeah, with that, we will conclude our episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want me to review any particular book, please put down in your comments in the comments, and I will make sure that I'll read the book and review. And once again, I remind you that this Wednesday, 5:25 p.m., we are releasing the first episode of Black and Brown new comedy duo series. So make sure you stay tuned, and please do watch it and share it with your friends. And yep, that's mostly about this episode. There's not much questions in the live chat, so we'll conclude the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and you're watching MaddiE with MaddiE, a YouTube TV. You don't have to watch. I mean, you don't have to subscribe it. You can watch it for free. And I'm MaddiE Dawson. Meet you in another episode probably tomorrow. And thank you. Yep. Bye bye.